Hey, what's happening, YouTubers? We're back with a brand new action figure review, or reviews. I was initially going to review the Mafex Hush Superman re-release, the third reissue. I got one from Big Bad Toy Store. I had it set. I filmed some scenes already for the review. Then I took it out of the box and it broke. Basically, the arm popped off. It couldn't go back in the socket, so it's shipped back to BBTS. And will I review it again? I don't know. We'll see. But in the meantime, what I will review today are a couple items I got from GameStop's Black Friday promotion. Currently, right now, they're running a buy two, get one free. I think it's something that Target and Amazon are doing as well, unlike select collectible action figures. And the ones I bought today were the 2-pack of Justice Lord Superman and Batman Beyond. And then this one, I actually blame Bones the Necro Zoo and Toy Gains because I had no intention of picking this up. But it looked badass and the review sold it on me. So shout outs to you guys, or I blame you guys. Anyways, we're going to take a look at the Injustice 2 Superman as well. So it's going to be a Superman review, as you saw from the title. But the third item I got for free was this Jim Gordon as Batman figure. Now, I'm not going to be reviewing this with the other figures because I kind of want to keep it Superman theme. But what I will say, though, is when you look at this and you look at the collector edition line, which one looks like it's worth the $30 value? And I only bring this up because at some point there has to be an evaluation of the line and the perception if it's actually worth $30, because this was 20 bucks. Well, I guess free because it's buy two, get one free. And this has way more accessories than some of the collector edition stuff we saw. Anyways, I'm not going to be reviewing this along with the other Superman. To keep it in the same theme as Superman, I'm actually going to be reviewing this older Red Sun Superman figure that came out, I think, 2 years ago. I never got to opening it, but what better way to open it than with these other Superman figures? So without further ado, let's get started with the review. Alright, here are all the Superman figures. Let's take a look at Red Sun Superman first. Alright, here's Red Sun Superman out of the box, and he comes with a flight stand, which I thought it was just a base plate he comes with, but this is cool. Get to add another flight stand to the collection. So you just pop it on like that. Then, of course, it comes with a data file, which the image is in reference to what this figure is based off of. And on the back is the data file, and if we focus in here and look closely, here's something that they don't do anymore, which sucks. It shows the source material, what this is based off of. So it's from Superman Red Sun issue number 1, the comics that released in 2003. You have his real name, the height, and the weight. And I don't know why they stopped doing this, but it kind of sucks. It added a little bit more detail to the data file, which I really liked, but it is what it is. It does come with an additional set of hands, and this is the frustrating thing about this that I just remembered. This is just a reused body mold of the Action Comics 1000 Superman, and that figure did not have two fisted hands. It had one fisted hand and a trigger hand, which this was a trigger hand at one point. It just looks like it got warped over time being in the box too long. Same goes for that set of hands that are on there right now. They're supposed to be two open hands, and the left one looks like it got a little closed in because it was in the package too long. But yeah, this figure never came with two fisted hands. And I remember in wave 1 of that figure, people were complaining like, why doesn't he have two fisted hands? And why does he have trigger hands? He's Superman. Alright, now let's take a look at the figure itself, and we'll get started with the head sculpt first. So I actually talked to someone who used to work at McFarlane Toys, and talking about this figure in particular, the chin was not supposed to be this big or as pronounced as it is. Apparently in the digital render, it was actually smaller than that, but for whatever reason in production, whenever the thing got sculpted and printed out, it came out like this, where he just looks like freaking Joe Swanson or Jay Leno. But apart from that, I still think the head sculpt looks pretty nice, even though because of the chin, it's not really source material. I do like the blue shading on the hair that they did as well. And the one thing I really liked about the Action Comics 1000 body mold was the way they're able to sculpt the emblem. Because when we compare it to the base body it was reusing, the Action Comics 1000 Superman, the way the emblems are sculpted and designed in here look perfect to me. So when comparing the way the emblem is sculpted on here to the Action Comics 1000, to me, this is just my preference, I think it looks perfect. However, when we compare it to like the infected body mold, that Superman emblem just looks a little messy to me. It kind of looks like cake topping, like the way it's sculpted on there. These two had the cleanest sculpts for a Superman emblem in my opinion, but let me know what you think in the comments below. Now when comparing it side by side, like I said, it's 100% reuse from the original Action Comics 1000 Superman. The only thing different are the capes, but everything else is about the same. Now in case you're wondering why this Superman on the right has two fisted hands, it's because I took those from the animated series Superman, which the peg hole fit for the fist, so they're able to use it. But yeah, apart from that, he would have had the trigger hands, which would have pissed me off. The funny thing about this figure is I remember at the time when they reused this body mold, collectors were sighing and groaning, saying, why didn't they just use the infected body mold? But in hindsight now, I think a lot of collectors can agree the infected body mold isn't as nice aesthetically as the Action Comics 1000 body mold, despite its limitations like single jointed elbows and not having two-fisted hands. But I actually do like the cape that's used on here. I think it was reused again on the Rebirth Superman later on. Alright, next we're going to take a look at the Injustice 2 Superman. Alright, here's Injustice 2 Superman out of the box. So, accessories first. He comes with a DC base plate. And here's the data file card with the image that you saw in the back of the box. And on the back is the data file. Feel free to pause it if you want to go ahead and read it. And real quick, just to show a comparison, I know it's kind of nitpicking, but this is what we used to get in terms of the information on the DC Multiverse data file cards versus what we get now. So you can see the only thing that's left is the real name, whereas this one had the height, weight, and source. Yeah, it is what it is. And he also comes with a set of additional hands. He has the open hands and then the fisted hands. Alright, now let's take a look at the figure itself, and we'll get started with the head sculpt first. So I did check this to see the source material. It is pretty accurate. He does kind of have a wide, fat face. Does look pretty accurate to the game, but I also will say this. I've seen people mention that he kind of looks like Tom Welling, who was the actor that played Clark Kent in the CW/WB series Smallville, which I can kind of see. And for just putting it out there, I really am not a fan of Injustice 2. I blame Bones the Necro Zoo and Toy Gains for this, for influencing this purchase, but it does look pretty badass nonetheless. And when taking a look at the rest of the figure, it is unique body mold. It's brand new sculpting and tooling. And the blue pattern throughout, like the metallic red, just looks fantastic in my opinion. So even though this is from a property that I'm not really a fan of, it's still Superman, it still looks pretty badass. Since it is a brand new body mold, the cape is also new tooling as well. I do like it. It's only windswept towards the bottom part, which is okay with me. I prefer neutral capes like you saw in that Red Sun Superman. What's interesting about this, it has that little outline going around the cape right here, which I think looks great. I'm not going to delve too much into articulation because it's your standard McFarlane Toys 22 moving parts, but what I will make mention of is the diaphragm cut / torso articulation. Like this is almost Red Hood bad. If you don't remember what I'm talking about, here's a clip. But enough about that. Let's move on to what I don't like about this figure. First off, why bother having a diaphragm cut or / diaphragm joint if it's basically useless? Like, what the hell is the point of having it? He can't even move forward. Like, that is insane. Like, why have that cut? But in terms of the forward movement, there's virtually none, because I think the sculpting work here prevents it. But basically, it can go back a decent, like that, and then forward, none. There's virtually no forward movement in the upper torso right here in the diaphragm cut. The ball joint at the hip doesn't really get it much movement either. Like, there is no movement in here, which sucks. I'm sure there's some modifications that can be done, but it just sucks that there's no movement at all. And I understand why, because of the sculpting work here. I just wish they would have found a way to implement it so it could have just some forward movement instead of none. Despite some of the figure's limitations in terms of movement and articulation, it doesn't take away from the overall aesthetic of this figure. I do appreciate the paintwork. Like, I like the blue metallic paintwork throughout the suit, as well as the sculpting of the emblem and the cape, even though it's a little bit heavy. It does look good overall. I also just noticed, like, the cut isn't as bad, like the break in terms of the articulation. It doesn't look as bad as we've seen before from other figures where it just looks like it's just chopped up. It does look kind of smooth in my opinion, but also would look good with other Injustice 2 figures from your collection from McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse line. Last but not least, we're going to take a look at the Batman Beyond and Justice Lord Superman 2-pack. Alright, here they are out of the box, and here are all the accessories they come with, and when you just look at this whole view of everything that this 2-pack comes with, I think it's definitely worth the price point. But like always, they come with a DC base plate that you see with all McFarlane Toys figures. And like we've seen in most 2-packs with McFarlane Toys, it always comes with like a little base. But the interesting about this one is it has a little insert that we didn't get with other 2-packs before. I think Spawn and Batman were the first one to have this, but it basically showcases the two characters' card art, and on the back is the piece I like. It's kind of like a mini Dio set, but I do like this. I do like how it just goes ahead and just fits right there so you can put it in your display. I think it's a pretty neat thing. Like I mentioned before in my other review, if they did more stuff like this, like they do with the movie Maniac stuff, I would definitely like it in the DC Multiverse line. Alright, first figure we're going to take a look at is Batman Beyond. Now this is supposed to be based on his appearance in Batman Beyond 2.0, and for reference, I guess it doesn't match, but at this point, does anything from the card art from McFarlane Toys ever match the figure itself? Here is the data file card, so you can see the image artwork of Batman Beyond, and on the back is the data file. Feel free to pause it if you want to go ahead and read it. So Batman does have an additional set of hands. They're like open expressive hands. The ones that are on there right now are for gripping the batarangs. And speaking of batarangs, Batman does come with 2 batarangs, so you can put one in each hand. And these look like new batarangs. I don't think these have ever been used before. Now let's take a look at the figure itself. And this is entirely reused of the previous Batman Beyond that we got in the Joker Bot wave and the single pack release. The only thing different or new from this is the head sculpt and these wings that you see right here. But other than that, the entire body mold is the same one that you saw before, which wasn't a bad body mold, but it does have its flaws, like you see on the bottom, those ankle ball joints. I remember when I first got back into reviewing in 2021, one of my biggest gripes were these ball joints. Like, I'm glad they've improved since then. I wish they would have updated this look, but yeah, these just stick out like a sore thumb. All right, now let's take a look at Justice Lord Superman. He doesn't really come with much accessories. He just comes with an additional set of hands that we've seen before from the infected Superman and Bizarro figure, because this basically is just an infected body mold. So the hand accessories are going to be the same. And of course, he comes with a data file card with the image artwork of Justice Lord Superman, which looks nothing like the actual figure itself. But on the back of the card is the data file. Feel free to pause it if you want to go ahead and read it. And the interesting about this one, it looks like it actually has a different bio that we don't see with every other card from McFarlane Toys when it comes to Superman. It actually has the bio on the Justice Lord. So feel free to pause it if you want to go ahead and read. Alright, now let's take a look at the figure itself. And like I mentioned, it doesn't look like the source material. When I actually first saw this, I was like, oh my gosh, they got the likeness rights to John Goodman, because this looks like John Goodman as Justice Lord Superman, to be honest with y'all. Now here's the thing. I am a fan of the Justice Lord Superman design. I remember seeing a similarly designed outfit. It wasn't exactly the same in the first Batman Beyond series, like when you first saw Superman older in the Justice League. But I do remember seeing the Justice League, I think Unlimited or Justice League animated series. He was Justice Lord Superman. I've just been a fan of the design. So when they said they were going to make a version of him in McFarlane Toys, I was excited until I saw the cape. So, as you heard me mention earlier with the windswept capes, I'm not a fan when it's so harshly in one direction, because this is using the same cape that we saw from the Eradicator figure, and mainly the reason why I don't like it is because for toy photography, you're really limited with what you can do if the cape is swinging in one direction, in my opinion. But let me know what you think in the comments below. And in terms of the head sculpt, I think this is just something with this body mold, and another reason why they need to create a new one. The way that the neck peg is resting on here, I tend to think that it should have been thinner, but because it's using a shorter neck peg, it's just making his face look wider. So an example of a different neck peg is I did the mod to the Hush Superman, and you could see I used a longer neck peg to kind of raise it. Now, I might have used a really long one, but his face doesn't look as fat as it did before, or was wide, I should say. So I'm going to try that modification with this to see how it turns out. Basically, what you do is you just remove the neck peg, put in a new one, and then you also, in time, just squeeze the head sculpt together so you get more of a thin look, so he doesn't look as bloated as this dude right here. But yeah, they really need to create a new body mold for Superman, because this, honestly, this ain't it. What I will say, however, is I do like how the Superman emblem looks on here as opposed to other Superman figures using this body mold. As I mentioned earlier in the video, this just looks like a cake topping, like it doesn't look good. Whereas here, it actually looks a little bit more clean. So when it comes to the paint scheme of his outfit, it's pretty simplistic. It's basically red, white, and black. What's frustrating is when you look at the diaper piece that they used, they didn't even bother sculpting this part right here. They just painted it. To me, it does not look good aesthetically. And same goes for the boots. We've seen them do this before with the Rebirth Superman. They just painted over the boot design, which in fairness to this, it looks fine because it's all black, so it's kind of hidden, whereas in the Rebirth one, it was obvious they're just blatantly painting over it. And I don't know, if they're going to reuse a body mold, at least make some stuff new so it looks better aesthetically. I'm not going to be disrespectful and say it's lazy. I just think the effort could have been better in terms of making a better Justice Lord Superman, because it just looks like they cut corners a lot with this figure. Before I jump into size comparisons, I'm just going to do a couple of head swaps and neck modifications on these just to see if I can improve the aesthetics of it. All right, so here are a couple head swaps I try to do, and I try to make the animated series Justice Lord Superman, but as you can see, his neck or his head sculpt just sits awkwardly, and that rebirth neck joint is just weird, so it just always looks like he's like looking up, but for some toy photography shots, I guess it could work, but yeah, it looks like this is a dud. And for the Injustice 2 Superman, I tried putting the rebirth head on this one, which I actually, like, I'll be honest, I'm not really a fan of the Injustice head sculpt. Even though it does look good, I kind of prefer this look, honestly, so I might just keep this on there on display with this rebirth head sculpt. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Alright, so I did do the neck modifications. I put a longer neck joint in there, so hopefully he doesn't look too much like John Goodman. I tried to compress the head sculpt a little bit so his jaw wasn't too fat, but I don't know, I think it works. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And as far as this Injustice Superman, y'all might not like it. I'm probably just going to keep this rebirth head sculpt on there just because I'm not a fan of the other one. I get this is how he's supposed to look in the source material, but yeah, whatever. Here are all the figures I've reviewed today side by side. And of course, Batman Beyond. I think out of all the Superman figures, my favorite of the three, I do like this Injustice 2 design. Looks sick. I like it with a rebirth head, even though it's not canon. Sorry, guys. Then next, I think I like the Red Sun Superman. Even though there might be some inaccuracies, I just like the simplicity and aesthetic of that figure, especially since it's on the Action Comics 1000 body mold. And then last is going to be this Justice Lord Superman. This should have been a lot better. Not for nothing, I think the cape really just ruins it for me. I wish they would have just put a neutral cape on there or something similar to these two, just because it just, I don't know, I'm not a fan of just one windswept cape direction. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Alright, so first size comparison, I just kind of want to showcase all the unique body molds they've made so far for Superman, minus the movie character, or movie versions, I should say. We have the Action Comics 1000 version, the Injustice 2 version, the Infected body mold, the Future State Superman body mold, and then this is the latest one that I actually do like. It's the Page Puncher Superman body mold, but this is, of course, the Vampire Superman. I think this is currently better. If they're going to reuse, this would be better than the Infected body mold. The only one I'm missing from this is the Dark Knight Returns Superman body mold, and I sold that one. I was just not a fan of it. Speaking of which, I'm also not a fan of the mullet Superman going on that, but it is what it is. And speaking of infected body molds, here's Justice Lord Superman set next to a couple other figures using the same body mold. We have the Hush Superman on the left, and the Battle Damaged Superman that came in the 2-pack with Doomsday on the right. And next size comparison, here is the Red Sun Superman sitting next to the Action Comics 1000 Superman. It's nice to see such a wide variety catalog of Superman figures from McFarlane Toys that we've gotten over the last couple years. But I can't help but wonder what would have happened if my Mafex Superman didn't break out of the box. Next size comparison, because I don't feel like taking them off the flight stand. Here's the Batman Beyond from the Justice Lord 2-pack next to the Batman Beyond from the Joker Bot Collective Build Wave Target exclusive. So as you can see, everything is exact reuse except for the wings and the head sculpt. Now time for a random ass size comparison, but still keeping it within the McFarlane Toys banner. Here's Batman Beyond standing next to Deku, not Todoroki, and no Chaco. I shouldn't heart. Alright, so my overall thoughts on these figures? I like them. With Justice Lord Superman being the exception, though, I was pretty disappointed in that figure. It should have been a lot better. I mean, it's still nice to add to your Superman collection, which we've gotten a ton from McFarlane Toys, but the only thing is, I saw in a Discord or somewhere one time, someone said Todd hates Superman. And as funny as that sounds, when you compare the amount of Superman characters and variety of Superman figures we've gotten, and the lack of unique body molds for specific versions, compared to Batman, who's gotten an infinite amount of different body molds, different unique sculpts, you kind of want to believe it, but as a joke, you know what I mean? I just think that they could do a better job in terms of creating a better Superman body mold other than this infected body mold. I mean, when the older Action Comics 1000 body mold looks better than the infected one, you know something's wrong. But I will say the Injustice 2 Superman body mold is nice. The design looks sick. I'm not really a fan or care much for the lore of it. Overall, though, I like it with the Rebirth head sculpt, but let me know what you all think. And in terms of Batman Beyond, again, I'm a fan of anything Batman Beyond related. So as soon as this came out, I was like, yeah, I'll pick it up. And my recommendation, if you're at Target or Amazon or GameStop, take advantage of the buy two, get one free sale because it's going on up until, I think, it's a Black Friday sale happening early. So if you're able to get 2 figures and get one for free, I highly recommend picking them up. But let me know what you think in the comments below, YouTubers. And will I review the Mafex Hush Superman? Who knows? Stay tuned. But like always, if you like what you see, be sure to hit that like button. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe. Thanks for watching.